Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I'm Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. We started recording this at 8:58 p.m. Why is that? Well, because today at 8:58, that's actually when the sun sets around here. It's one of the really cool, no, actually, it's one of the only cool things about being a Washington resident. Speaking of being a Washington resident, you know, we always try to use real-life examples to be able to teach you about how the laws of self-defense work. And we have one that actually comes right here from our own backyard, and it's one that I think all of you need to be aware of. So today, let's break it all down and let's talk about how trying to be the hero can land you in prison. Okay, before we get going too far down the road we're going down, proud to announce that this video is, well, before we go there, this is the God's honest truth. I actually found this company on Kickstarter, contacted my business manager, Alex, and said, Alex, get a hold of these people. I really, really want to talk to them. What am I talking about? I'm talking about PaintCam. Revolutionize your home system with cutting-edge technology. Introducing the ultimate home security system, PaintCam Smart Home Security. Their cutting-edge security system for home provides unparalleled protection, ensuring your family's safety and giving you ultimate peace of mind. PaintCam's advanced technology detects both humans and pets using state-of-the-art facial recognition to distinguish between welcome guests and potential intruders. In the event of an unwanted intrusion, our system springs into action, deploying paintball markers or tear gas to deter the intruder and mark them for easy identification by authorities. I'm not making this stuff up. How cool is that? PaintCam's Eve Smart home security system funded on Kickstarter in less than an hour, and now at 650% funding. It comes with 3 models, Eve, Eve Plus, and of course the Eve Pro, each with unique functionalities. Features include animal pet detection, face recognition, regular, UV, and upcoming pepper gas paintballs, night vision, sound warning, high-resolution camera, and of course, user-controlled autonomous mode. App integration for easy security settings, adding faces, confirming access, and more. Easy installation process. Currently available on Kickstarter, this is important, at 40% off the regular price. Estimated shipping January 25th. Hey, if you don't believe me, check out some of the features they've done with Fox News, Uncrate, and the Washington Times. Listen, this is really absolutely one of the coolest security devices we've ever seen. Check out that link right there for more information. Visit our good friends at paintcam.eu. Okay, here's what we're talking about. Dateline, June 7th, Renton, Washington. Renton, Washington is a suburb just southeast of Seattle, not far from where I grew up, as a matter of fact. Okay, now try to follow this story, all right? A 51-year-old gentleman who happens to be an armed security guard, not at this property, but somewhere else, happens to be driving into a big strip mall in which there is a sporting goods store called Big 5 Sports, okay? Right next to Big 5 Sports happens to be the place where his son is finishing his jiu-jitsu class, all right? Now, while he's sitting there minding his own business, he sees 3 young men walking up to Big 5 Sports, and he believes they are armed with some type of a firearm. He believes they're about to go in and rob Big 5 Sporting Goods. So what does he do? He calls 911, right? No. You see, he believes that he didn't have enough time to do that, but he did have enough time to grab his handgun, go out, and stop all 3 of these young men at gunpoint. He literally orders them to cease. He orders them to drop the firearm. Now, according to eyewitnesses, all 3 of these young men do, in fact, comply with that order. All right, now, problem solved, right? These kids were going to go in and rob this place. Well, no. You're going to find out what really happened in a moment here. But at that point, after the young men have complied, dropped the firearm, he then calls 911, right? No. Instead, he decides, well, I need to go hands-on. I'm going to detain him, make sure he can't grab the firearm, and then we'll think about calling 911. Unfortunately, the young man, 17-year-old young man, still a high school student in a high school right outside of Seattle, doesn't really like being manhandled by this gentleman because it turns out the kid wasn't doing anything wrong. And a scuffle ensues where all of a sudden the 51-year-old security guard believes, oh my God, my life is in danger. I need to deploy lethal force. And he does exactly that, shooting this 17-year-old kid 7 times. Now, eyewitnesses also said that he stood over the victim after shooting him a few times and kind of finished him off with a couple of shots as he stood over him. Now, here's the thing. That's the story as it appeared if you're just kind of looking at it.
Behind the scenes, the reason that these 17-year-old kids were approaching Big 5 Sporting Goods with a firearm, and I'm not going to say this was smart activity, but it was an airsoft rifle. It was an airsoft rifle that the victim had actually purchased from Big 5 Sporting Goods, was having issues, and was taking it back to talk to him about a potential exchange. Now, the 51-year-old gentleman was concerned that not only the Big 5 Sporting Goods was going to be robbed, but that somehow or another that was going to endanger his son, which is in an adjacent piece of property in the same strip mall, okay? Now, I think we can all realize that there was probably a lot of things that this 51-year-old off-duty security guard could have done differently. But the problem is the way he's handled this has now landed him into the King County Jail on $2 million bail, and he is likely looking at murder charges. Now, let me explain where we're coming from here. First of all, let's get all the rules of engagement out of the way again. Okay, if we're going to be using force to defend ourselves or others, the force we use has to be 1, necessary, 2, it has to be reasonable, both subjectively and objectively, and then 3, it also has to be proportional. You also have to remember that you can only use lethal force if you are in imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury. Somebody else in your presence is imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury. You have a felony being committed upon your person, or you have a felony being committed inside your home. Okay, and so now that we got all of the rules out of the way, let's just really take what might be a very complicated situation and equation here and break it down quite simply, which is this. How reasonable was it for the security guard to act in this fashion? Okay? First of all, even if we believe subjectively and objectively that there was an armed robbery about to occur, the juvenile's willingness to immediately disarm themselves did decrease any potential harm. And had this security guard listened to what the kids had to say, or had he himself inspected the firearm, he would have presumably figured out that this was a fake firearm, an airsoft rifle, in very, very short order. There was a lot of other more reasonable steps that he could have taken. So when we take a look, was he in imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury? Maybe at one point he believed he was. Maybe at one point you believe he reasonably was. But the minute the kid throws the firearm aside, that threat presumably is over at that point. Was someone else in imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury? Well, again, if he believes there's an armed robbery that's about to occur, maybe at the very beginning that's reasonable. But again, once the kids stop, once they follow his commands, and once they turn around and disarm themselves, at that point, the threat presumably is over. And was someone else possibly in danger, such as his son? Well, remember, he was concerned that his son that was in the adjacent property was going to be harmed by a potential armed robbery that occurred in the property before. So the reality of the situation is this, is that everything in self-defense law is always based on the reasonableness of the conduct. When you really boil it all down, whether you talk about was it necessary, was it reasonable, was it proportional, you take a look at all the 4 reasons for which we could use lethal force, it ultimately comes down to how reasonable was our actions. And when we take a look at what this particular security guard did, and how he kind of went John Wick, how he kind of took the fight to himself here, there is a lack of reasonableness at many, many steps. And when you're in a jurisdiction like King County, Washington, and you're a 51-year-old supposedly trained armed security guard, and the victim was just about ready to graduate from high school, this is exactly how trying to be the hero can end up landing you in prison. Listen, all the stories that we relied upon and geeked out on to make this video will link up down below so that you guys can geek out on it for yourself. This is a terrible, terrible story. We'll keep you updated on how it goes on the legal side of things. If you got ideas for videos we should be doing here at Washington Gun Law, click on that link right there, because candidly, most of the best ideas we ever had weren't really our ideas. If you got any questions about this issue and you want to contact Washington Gun Law, that information is down there in the description box. And then finally, and most importantly, let's remember that part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here, is to know what the law is in every situation and how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. From beautiful Cle Elum, Washington, thanks for watching and stay safe.